Today we'll be talking about lesson 4.1 on graphing linear equations. A linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line. The points on the line are solutions of the equation. You can use a graph to show the solutions of a linear equation. The graph below represents the equation y equals x plus 1. So for this equation, we have the graph for the table, and we have the solutions on a coordinate plane to show what the graph of this line would look like. We are going to now graph the linear equations. So remember from chapter 9 when we talked briefly about equations, we had the form y equals mx plus b. Remember that m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, or where it crosses the y-axis. We can use this information as well as a table to help us plot the graph. So for the first one, we're going to make a table. So x, y, and then your coordinate or your ordered pair. I recommend often to use 0, 1, and -1 because you need 3 points. When I plug in 0 for x, y equals 3 times 0, which is 0. So the first point would be 0, 0. Now for 1, if I plug in 1 for x, y equals 3 times 1, which is 3. So my point would be 1, 3. Y equals 3 times -1. 3 times -1 is -3. So my point would be -1, -3. Now I can take these 3 points and graph them on my coordinate plane. So 0, 0, 1, 3, and -1, -3. Now I can connect these points with a line, which on your paper is going to look much straighter than it is on here. But you can connect those points with a straight line going through both axes to graph my linear equation. Now, go ahead and try numbers 2 and 3 right now on your own by making a table and graphing the equation. As you can see here, I have plugged in my numbers to my table and came up with 3 ordered pairs to plot my point. Now, instead of using 0, 1, and -1, I went ahead and used 2 and -2. Since I have a fraction, that way I came out with even numbers. They didn't have to be plotted in the middle. But you can use still that 1 and -1. You're just going to have maybe like a 0.5 answer instead. So if I plug in 0, -1/2 of 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. -1/2 of 2 is -1 plus 2 is 1. -1/2 of -2 is +1. Negative times a negative is a positive. Plus 2 is 3. Now again, I can go ahead and plot these 3 ordered pairs on my graph. 0, 2, 2, 1, and -2, 3. And then connect them with the straight line to graph my linear equation. Now, notice how this red line is a positive slope and this yellow line is a negative slope. So from left to right, we're going up, left to right, we're going down. Take a look at that M position in your equation. Here we have a 3, that's positive, so our slope is positive. In number 2, we have -1/2. -1/2 is negative, so our slope is going down. Now, taking a look at number 3, I went ahead and plugged in my 0, 1, and -1 to get these 3 ordered pairs. So check those, and then we're going to plot those points. So 0, -4, 1, -1, and -1, -7. And again, connect those with as straight of a line as possible to graph your linear equation. When we graph horizontal and vertical lines, we have to take a look at the equation. So the graph of y equals b is a horizontal line passing through the point 0b. So when you have a linear equation that says y equals b, the line is going to be horizontal, so going left to right. See that that line passes through a point on that y-axis. Now, the graph of x equals a is a vertical line passing through a 0. So it's vertical, up and down. Notice that that line passes through the x-axis. So here, when we graph the linear equation, x equals 1, we find 1 on the x-axis, we make a point, and we draw a line through that point. You go ahead and try number 5 right now. As you've taken a look at number 5, we have y equals -4. So again, we find -4 on the y-axis, and we draw a horizontal line going through that point. The next set says to solve the equation for y. So when we solve an equation for y, we are simply getting y by itself. So we start on the side of the equal sign that has the y, but furthest away from it. So we see here that y is being subtracted by 3x. The opposite of subtracting 3x is to add 3x. Keep in mind that essentially we want to have our equations in that y equals mx plus b format. So minus 3x plus 3x cancels. We're left with y equals 3x plus 1. Positive 3x, positive 1. Now we have our equation in y equals mx plus b form, and y is by itself. Go ahead and try number 7. Here on number 7, we're starting on the side with y, but furthest away from it. So we see that this is a positive 5x. When there is no sign in front of it, we know that it's positive. The opposite of positive 5x is to subtract 5x, or negative 5x. 5x take away 5x cancels, and we're left with 2y equals negative 5x plus 4. We have minus 5x and a positive 4. Now we see that we have y on the left side of the variable, but it's not by itself yet because we have 2y. We know that 2 and y are being multiplied, and the opposite is to divide. When we divide by 2 on each side, 2y divided by 2 is simply y. But every term on the right side needs to be divided by 2. So negative 5x divided by 2 is negative 5x over 2, or negative 5 halves x. 4 divided by 2 is simply 2. Since they're both positive, we know our answer will be positive. Here we have y equals negative 5 halves x plus 2. Again, we have y by itself, and we're in y equals mx plus b form.